Welcome to the Garden Girl. We are here at Hillcrest Gardens in Dover, Ohio. It's a beautiful sunny morning out. We're amongst tons of beautiful flowers coming on for hopefully what will be spring, I'm hoping. So as we start into our first week in April, I felt as though the first episode should be on something that a lot of people really question themselves about in their advancement in gardening, which is seed starting. A lot of people really get bummed out when their seeds don't germinate and it's just dirt. So what I want to do today is take you through from start to finish so that you up your percentages and you really have a good chance of getting the most seeds to germinate and the most little plants coming on for your garden for the year. So the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out a container. So where do you start seeds at? Well, it's April, so it's cold out, and most of your seeds aren't going to be able just to be tossed out in the ground, which I know a lot of people do. Shame on you. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you some different containers that you can use, why I like them, the pros and cons, and how you can start them indoors. Don't worry, we're going to cover where you're going to put them as far as light and temp, and again, we're going to cover soil. So let's start with our containers. There are tons of containers on the market, and to be real honest, I really prefer our little cow pots. These are what they call cow pots, peat pots. As you'll see here, peat pots, very affordable, extremely affordable. And the nice thing is with the peat pots, you don't have to transplant. These are biodegradable. They're going to break up in the ground or in your containers, so you don't have to mess with the root system. So the Garden Girl likes peat pots. However, some people traditionally like to use cell packs or what we call an open tray. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just know that you can't plop that in the ground and that at some point you may disturb the root system if you're not careful with these little guys. So when you use the cell packs, we're going to have to fill them, and we're getting into soil just next. The open tray system, I'll tell you, in college we tried both, and when you seed a flat in an open tray system, the good thing is you can get a lot of plants. The bad thing is you have to sit there and use a pencil and go through every little one because they're right beside each other. So if you're not on top of it with thinning, you're going to have roots that are growing together. So you've really got to be able to go in there and pick them apart. Do I like the open tray method? Not so much. So again, if you want to use cell packs, that's fine. If you want to use peat pots, that's even better. So the next step is, once we have our containers, we have to have soil. Do not, I repeat, do not go out in your backyard and dig up a chunk underneath your grass. Don't rip your grass off and dig up a chunk and say, oh, I have my soil. No. It is, for one thing, Tuscarawas County is very high in clay. It's too heavy. And the problem with clay is, as most of you know from being around here, you have a lot of water that sits. Our airspace is not there for them to breathe. And believe it or not, plants need just as much air as they do water. You'd be surprised. So we want to use a seed starting mix. There are many out on the market. Miracle Grow's nice because Miracle Grow already has built-in fertilizer. So again, we're not disturbing anything. These little guys can get started, they can grow on, and they're getting that little bit of food to them. I really like Miracle Grow products, but there's tons of good ones out there. There's another one here. You know, that bag, $4.99. Do you know how many seeds you can do for that? A lot. Another one here that has its vermiculite and it's already pH controlled is $9.99. Again, this is a very large bag. But what this will do for the seeds, it's going to allow them to be stable. It's going to allow nutrient holding capacity. It's going to allow for airspace, hence drainage, and it's going to keep them sturdy. It's going to anchor them. So you're going to have your nutrient holding, your water holding capacity. Everything's going to be there for them to get a good start. So the next thing we have to do, before we even pick out our seed, you've got to get the soil. Now, again, When you see, you're going to see a nice dry soil, right? You're going to have to sit there and crumble it. You want to make sure that this is crumbled big time. And I'll tell you why. These seeds are so little, you want it to be as fine as possible. Now you're going to notice these little white pieces in here. It's perfect for containers. It's perfect for seed starting. This is perlite. You can crush it up, but you don't want to do that. This helps with your airspace, and this is what keeps them from drowning and going. Ugh. So you want to make sure you leave that alone, but don't pick it out. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to show you something, and I know a lot of people do this. We'll use these 2 seed trays, okay, these cell packs. I'm going to take some of this dry because most of you would do that. You would take it home, crumble it up like I said. And by the way, you'll notice I do have my gloves here. It's fine, but to me, I don't use gloves. I like to feel things. Some seeds are real small, which we will get into that. I like my fingers because, as I always tell everybody, it gets dirty around here. So once we fill up, and what you think is filled up with your nice dry mix, okay, we tamp it down and everything, right? So you think you're all ready. Now, what I'm going to do and show you here, where's my bucket? Let me grab my bucket. I'm going to take some potting mix, put it in some water, and I'm going to mix this. And I'm going to get it nice and really saturated. Actually, you know what? Just dump. I'm just going to dump and be done. So now what we do, now that I've got this mix, and I know you're thinking, oh my gosh, it looks like soup. That's fine. This is where it's fun to get dirty. So now you're going to take your cell pack and you're going to fill it all in, okay? And again, you can leave a little lip at the top, and I'll tell you why. When they start growing before, because it's in Ohio, so Lord only knows when our last frost date's going to be and when you're actually going to get some of these annuals and vegetables out, you're going to want to fill close to the top, like I do, push down, and make sure you have a little lip, because if you don't, what you're going to find is when you start watering them and as they get bigger and you haven't been able to get them outside yet, what happens is if you put it clear to the top, you're not going to be able to get any water to them and really thoroughly soak the cell pack. Now, this is a great stopping point. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
A nursing home or your own home, it's good to be home. So call Ember Complete Care for all of your home health needs. When you're recovering from illness or injury, our compassionate staff promotes healing in the most comfortable environment of all, your own home. For skilled nursing, physical therapy, wound care, and more, Ember Complete Care serves all of Tuscarawas, Coshocton, and Harrison counties. Call 800-462-0909. Ember Complete Care. It's good to be home.
As the area's leader in direct-to-garment printing, you won't be surprised by Dennison T-Shirt Graphics' huge range of services: screen printing, banners, engraving, graphic design, and embroidery. They offer just about anything you can imagine, like shirts, mugs, hats, plaques, trophies, and more. They're located right here in New Philadelphia on the south side and on the web at DennisonT-shirt.com.
Well, glad to see you came back and you didn't change the channel. That's a good thing, because now we're getting on to the more fun part. So now that I have this nice little wet cell, we're going to show you a little experiment. And this is where it gets really, really fun. So we're going to take a watering can, because, and I'm not even going to put the seeds in first. There's no sense in abusing them. So here's our dry cell pack and here's our wet cell pack. Now, normally you're going to plant the seed and you're going to say, well, geez, it has to have water to germinate, so I'm just going to water it. And you're going to take this lovely can of water, or even a hose. God, I hope you don't use a hose. And you're going to start pouring. Now, what just happened here? boy, I've got kind of a mess going on. Where did our seed go? Well, if it's one that was just scattered on top, or one that's maybe just 1/8 of an inch down, guess what? Chances are it has probably migrated with its buddy from this cell to this cell, because now you've splashed it all. So now you're gonna have to pick through trying to find a seed in this stuff, which is not fun. Trust me, I've done it a million times and I've learned the hard way, hence why I'm sharing this with you, why you want it pre-wet. So, bye-bye cell pack, gone. Okay, and the other thing I will tell you too, and this is another reason why, is a lot of times what you'll find is if you pick through, you'll find dry spots. Just like the bottom of that is dry, you're gonna find some dry spots. So is it thoroughly wet and giving it a good start? No, not so much. So now that we're on to, we have our soil, we have our containers. Well, what's next? The seeds. Okay, this is where it's gonna take a little bit of you stepping back saying, well, I'm doing, and for you vegetable gardeners, it's fine. You probably have your plot laid out, your raised bed, your square foot garden. Everything's probably already done. And if that's the case, you know your lighting requirements. For you new gardeners that want to try things, different flowers, or you want to try a different vegetable and you're doing it in a container, you have to look at your light. You know, here we have corn. Corn needs sun. And corn is one of these that I don't really want to see you plant in these cell packs. There are certain things that can't be planted in cell pack. Well, they can, but the problem is, like when you get into your lettuces and your corn, the roots are so fine. And on some of these annuals, Love in the Mist is one of them that I've planted before, and I've transplanted and been like, oh my gosh. Some things are better just waiting for the temps to warm up and direct sowing. And that means take them straight outside and put them in the ground according to the depth. So you have to decide, like with this zinnia here, zinnias need sun. Zinnias need a lot of sun. So if you're saying to yourself, well, I have a container and I was going to put it on my deck and I don't get very much sun. Okay, you need to find like an impatient begonia, something that is for shade. And there's a multitude of things to choose from, there really is. But you need to find something that's for shade. So you want to plan ahead a little bit from your design aspect. Now if you're saying, well, I want to put all my lettuce in a container, good for you, that's a smart thing. Direct sowing it in a container is a smart thing. Lettuce can be grown inside, it doesn't have to be outside. If it does go outside, you know in the early spring months you can put it out in the sun. As it warms up, you need to pull it into a partial shade area, otherwise it'll bolt. So you have to look, again, you got to look at different things. Now, I picked zinnias for starters. Zinnias are pretty easy to germinate, and you're going to look, and I can't stress this enough, read the back of the label. You've got to read the back of the label. Every seed is different, and I don't know them off the top of my head. I read the packets. So this one here says that it only needs to go 1/4 inch deep, and it germinates in 5 to 10 days. So what I'm guessing here is that we have a smaller seed, which we do. If you look at it, it's just a little thing. Now, believe it or not, some seeds are way smaller, and you might find it necessary to use a little mini seed master. What it is, you can open up your packet, and it kind of suctions it so that you can make sure you have just a couple in each cell. Did you notice I said a couple? Because not every seed is going to live. It's just Mother Nature, it's the way it goes. So you're going to have to plant a couple and then be vicious and decide that once they're both up, the bigger one wins, one must die, and you're going to pluck it out. But you're better off taking a couple. Now, a 1/4 inch is barely anything. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finger and mooch just some of this soil off to the side. Now, with zinnias, you don't have to be directional. Just put it down. Just lay it down in there. And then you're just going to put that 1/4 inch of soil back over it and just tap a little bit. don't smush it, just tap. Just tap it down a little. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to mooch these off to the side. And again, see, I don't have to worry about watering now. Nothing, this seed is not going to get disturbed. It's going to stay in the middle of the cell pack that I'm planting. Okay, same with your peat pot. If you decide to use a peat pot, you're going to put the seed right in the middle. Okay, so one other quick little thing. I don't know if you noticed in the background, but if some of you guys have those Jiffy houses, they make these wonderful little peat discs. And you'll see that there's a webbing around them. Now, in the middle is right where you're going to put that seed. Now you say, well, gosh, how do I do this? Easy. This little guy has been soaking here for approximately 10 minutes. Notice the difference? As the peat absorbs the water, it's going to expand for you. And you see a nice little hole down in there. So you just lay the seed down in there and let it go. So you can also go this route. And again, this is biodegradable to where it's just you just plant it. No touching the roots, no nothing. So I really like these. I just wanted to wait until this started absorbing so that again, you could see the difference. And they're just little, so they're easy to store. They last forever. You can throw them in a drawer. Yeah, throw them at your door. That's a great thing to do. Throw them in a drawer, and they'll save over for year after year. So we'll put him down there because we'll check back and you can see how big they do get. But once we're done with our seeds, sorry guys, I'm going to put you down here. You're going to notice that it's 5 to 10 days for germination. Okay, so in other words, you're not going to see anything for 5 to 10 days on these zinnias. And here's another learning curve I learned through trial and error. Labels are a beautiful thing. Whether it's you want to go get fancy labels, you can. This is $3.99. If you're planting a bunch of dill because you can, great. You can get a fancy one. There's nothing wrong with that. Otherwise, you want to make sure that you're getting a label and a Sharpie. It's your best friend. So I'm going to make sure this little guy here has a name tag so they know so I know and you know what's coming up. Oh, and by the way, go grab a pen and paper. We're going to take a little break and we'll be right back.
We live in a fast-paced world. Say goodbye to searching books and search engines for all the answers. Now there's iTowns. From finding a place to dine or locating your family doctor, you can also check out the high school game of the week from TV2 Sports. Get your answer with just one click. iTowns has it all.
Hi, I'm Elaine Miller with Naturally Green Cleaning Service. My company serves both commercial and residential clients. We do general cleaning, spring and fall, empty homes to get them move-in ready, and final cleans for new construction. We use eco-friendly cleaning products that leave your home or office fresh, clean, and safe for you, your family, pets, or coworkers. Our focus at Naturally Green is to provide excellent customer service paired with outstanding work to build a relationship of trust with you, our clients. Having served the area 4+ years, we have had many referrals and testimonials that you can access on our website at www.naturallygreencs.com. Our work sells itself, therefore we have never had any contracts even with our largest commercial accounts. Call us today for your free quote and see what makes our company stand out.
Hi, welcome back. We're getting close to getting done, so hang with me here because now we're going to get into a couple different methods that I want to just show you real quick that you can encounter with different seeds and some tips and tricks before we get into where to put these in the house and what temp they need to be at. I'm going to move our little peat pot that is still growing, our little disc that is still growing, and I'm going to show you here right with the zinnias anyhow. Now, this kind of seems weird, but if you want to speed up and kind of cheat Mother Nature a little bit, and it only works sometimes. A lot of people, myself included, before I go to bed, I will put whatever I'm planting the next day in water. and I'll let them soak overnight. Now, don't put them in, forget to plant them within 24 hours, because what will happen is it will rot. It can rot, and then you're losing chances. So overnight's fine. What it does is it helps break the seed coat. Like every seed has like an armor on it or a raincoat, and that's what keeps it safe outside in Mother Nature during winter. It holds all that food storage in there, and the actual, everything stays moist inside of it. Some are easier to break than others. Some just need moisture. Some you have to nick. Your nasturtiums are one of them. Now, you will see, look at the size of these suckers. They are huge, and they almost look like little snails. What you're gonna do, and this is how you can cheat a little bit again. Yes, you can soak them overnight, but for you women, go in your nail drawer, grab just a simple nail file. For you husbands or boyfriends, ask first. What you're gonna do is file it, and it's called nicking the seed coat. All we're gonna do is kind of file, because some of these seeds have a really thick coat on them. I mean, it takes, you can wait and wait and wait. And as you'll notice on the back of this one, the germination period for nasturtium, which you can eat too, by the way, but they're pretty, but you can't eat them in salads, is 14 days. So again, I like to try to cheat a little bit, file the seed coat just a titch to get some of that off of there, and then again, plop it in water. So now that we're on to that, say we soaked them overnight and everything, these have a planting depth of 1/2 inch. And this is something I think you're gonna find as you plant seeds. The smaller the seed, the closer to the surface. This is just the rule of thumb, or the rule of the green thumb that we have. And the larger the seed tends to be usually a little deeper. Now, the reason being for that, big seed, more food storage, heavier coat usually. So they have a lot of time to try to fight their way to the surface. In other words, when they germinate, they have plenty of food storage for the radicle to get up to the top. The smaller seeds, some which you'll say, you might read on the back, and they say, well, don't cover with any soil. That means that chances are they're smaller and they really need light to germinate, a lot of it. Some don't. And that's something you know, offhand, yeah, there's certain things I know, but most of the time you have to read packet for packet. There is thousands of varieties of vegetables, thousands of varieties of flowers, so it's impossible for me to remember everything. So I always read the packet. So your nasturtium is now 1/2 inch in. Now we have to find a place for them in the house. In my house, every windowsill from now on is filled with flats, containers, everything growing. I have some in my west windows, some in my south windows. Now the reason I do that is because, one, that light coming through there aids in heating. Heat is a very big factor. If you think about it, when seeds drop off your perennials and they fall down on the ground and they sit there through the snow and everything else, they go dormant. Part of it's because of the temperature, because if you think about it, they're getting the moisture. We still get sunlight in January, not as much, but some. So it has a lot to do with heat. It's like a very fine dance there. But I like to put mine right in the windowsills. I really do. I try to keep them as close as possible. And honestly, I know this sounds crazy. My DirecTV box usually has stuff sitting on it, unfortunately, because any of your boxes, your cable boxes, anything like that, has a little bit of heat coming off. So as much as I hate to say it, you can use them for a little extra bottom heat. But what you want to do, you want to keep it in there. You want that solar energy, because that will definitely aid in your germination and speed it up. Now here comes the fun part. You're busy, you're at work, you're going away for the weekend. You got to make sure, here's the rule of thumb. If they dry, they die. It's that simple. You barely have a root system. You have little tiny plants that chances are they don't even have their first set of true leaves once they germinate. They dry, they die. So one thing you can do to help retain some of that heat and moisture is you can cover, here we go. I'm not even going to cut this because you are going to see me go AWOL. I fight with plastic wrap my whole life. That's that. It never listens to me. So what you're going to do is you're going to lay some over. And what this does, this will help keep your moisture in, especially if you're going to go away for a weekend jaunt or a little mini holiday. So you want to keep this plastic over it. That will aid in it. Now, again, remember I said if they dry, they die. And you're probably thinking, well, you said not to water them with a watering can, they'll go everywhere. Right, correct. So what you'll do is you'll remove that plastic. Now at home, I use it sometimes if I'm going away. If I'm not, I don't. I do my own thing. So when we get back, I'm going to show you how you can keep things watered and keep that mediocre moisture for these seeds. So don't forget, give yourself a minute and come right back with us.
In 2008, we were notified that our funding would be, our corporate funding would be reduced. So we were very much struggling in 2009. The Tuscarawas County Community Foundation came in like a white knight on a horse and saved the Arts Center. Now that looks like we're going to be here forever, people are coming in and more willing to support the organization and help us achieve our mission.
Hi, I'm 1450 WJER's Bill Morgan, inviting you to join me on television Wednesday evenings at 7 and Friday afternoons at 5 for TV2 Sports Talk. Sports Talk is your weekly look inside high school football, volleyball, soccer, and more. Look for guest appearances from your favorite area coaches and players. TV2 Sports Talk, Wednesday evenings at 7 and Friday afternoons at 5 on DMG Channel 2 on Time Warner Cable.
Hi, welcome back. And we are almost done with our whole seed starting escapade here. So, as I said, if you're going to go away for the weekend, you want to make sure they're misted. Say you come home, it's, we're in the first week of April, maybe once it's second or third week and you've got little plantlets up, you're going to see that they're going to start cooking through the water and that sun's getting stronger. So you might get home and you might realize that you have some dry soil on top. And again, you're saying, well, you said not to use a watering can. Don't. At this point, they should only require top misting. So yes, use a spray bottle, put it on mist, and lightly mist them. Now, at this point, will the soil compact a little bit? Well, sure. It's going to dry a little bit. It will compact. The roots are going to start growing. But see, if you mist, do you see anything moving? No. Is the top moist again? Yes. So that's why I swear by using a little sprayer bottle. And then you'll just simply put your plastic back over if you're using it or not. But you just want to keep it, again, you don't want it sopping wet at this point. At first, it's fine. Once they start growing, we don't want to keep them sopping wet. Hence, why we're going to go into our word of the week. So every week everybody's going to learn a new word of the week. The word of the week is damping off. No, it does not mean sitting here damping yourself off from planting all these or watering. It simply means it's a disease that does tend to hit seedlings. What happens is it's basically a pathogen that will kill the roots. If you keep them too wet and too cold, hence why I said windowsill, mister bottle, monitor them. Damping off is what you'll hear some people refer to as a disease that hits them. If you find that all of a sudden your little plants are kind of brown by the bottom, and we are going to show you an image on here so that you can kind of get an idea. the plants will soon go boom. If that happens, it's damping off. It's very common. Don't kick yourself. It's not a big deal. Everybody does it. But just know that chances are the temp was too low and that the moisture was too high. So as I said, once you get that initial moisture in, then it's just like anything else, any of your house plants that you may have, or shrubs, or different flowers that you've had throughout the years. It's just enough to keep them moist, but not enough to get them to damp off. Going into that, the question of the week was, what is scarification? Scarification. Okay, do you remember what I did with this one neat little seed? These little nasturtiums? Well, hence, when you take that file and start filing, that is scarification. You're scarring the surface. And again, if you hear, an old farmer say something, I had to scarify that seed. Well, that's what it is. That's all they're doing. They're nicking it. You can even take a pocket knife and just chip it a little. They're breaking that seed dormancy. And again, as I explained, sometimes it's really important and it really speeds up Mother Nature a little bit. It helps set the pace a little quicker. So, as we wrap up, we've learned a little bit about where to put them, what to put them in, the seed mix you should use, the whys, the hows, the whats. So now it's up to you to get creative, get to your garden center, and start picking up packets of seeds and get crazy with it. You might as well try something. As I said before, try something. If it dies, it dies. So what? It's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. Try it again. You have plenty of time. We're only in the first week of April. If you see something die off, for goodness sake, go grab another packet. I mean, packets of seeds, you're looking at under $2 most of the time, $1.50, sometimes even cheaper than that. So what we're going to cover next week, since obviously we already have all of our containers in our windowsills or maybe in our little homemade greenhouses, next week, since we're getting into the second week of April, we need to start talking about your lawn care. Yes, we are talking about grass and weeds. And no, not the kind you smoke. Grass, lawn grass and weeds that we pull. So join me next week. We're going to have Mark Kelliker here, the owner of Hillcrest Garden Center, who's a whiz at this lawn stuff. So we're going to have him here to help you get a jump start on your lawn and have something lush and beautiful that you can sit your bum on all summer. Thanks so much.